Well, if the spiders, worms, and tentacles are just gonna fight each other, guess I'll just have to kill the clockworks myself. Hey there, my name is Soundrak, and welcome back to another episode of my Don't Starve a Reign of Giants Wagstaff playthrough series. Last time we started adventure mode and successfully completed the King of Winter for Chapter 1, and today we'll be tackling Chapter 2, Archipelago. But will we make our way through the wormholes to Chapter 3? Let's find out. Chapter 2, Archipelago starts with a familiar scene, burnt trees, a divining rod, and a blurry Maxwell with a little more exposition. Looks like Wagstaff does not spawn in subsequent chapters with any spectacles, so I make those right away and then start exploring my surroundings. I'm really glad I brought all those pigskins and gold from the prior chapter. While Wagstaff gets his bearings, let's talk a little bit about this chapter. Archipelago doesn't have any odd seasonal effects like many of the other chapters of adventure mode, but instead consists of a bunch of isolated islands that are only connected by wormholes. The first island has a resource-rich grassy area surrounded by a pretty big swamp, so those spectacles are going to come in handy for avoiding all of the tentacles. The other islands will each have one or two biome types present, but each island doesn't always connect to more than one other island. And with each trip through a wormhole draining 15 sanity, keeping your brain fueled can become a challenge. I spend the first day gathering critical survival materials, as well as a decent amount of food courtesy of the Merms vs Tentacles war zones. So during the night, I go ahead and drop my pre-crafted crock pot from last chapter so I can cook up some food. I came into the channel with less than full health, so first dish is a Froggle Bunwich for 20 healing, and then after dawn arrives I make an axe and shovel to start gathering wood, craft a backpack, and start chopping down birch nut trees. I won't need to replant any of these, so the seeds can be used as crockpot filler or to make trail mix. Soon I've got enough wood and make a log suit and spear, and since I found some cut stone in the nearby swamp, I also make a visor. When I made the axe and shovel, I didn't realize I only had 4 flints, so hopefully that doesn't become a problem later. Butterflies get slaughtered to serve as crockpot filler, and then during dusk I make some Froggles. I don't plan on staying in this chapter any longer than is absolutely necessary, so we'll want to be able to efficiently explore during the nighttime. Morning of day 3 arrives and I'm still cooking meatballs, and soon I've got 5 of those as well as a bunwich, fish sticks, and even some butter, and then set off to explore the rest of the swamp. Because you never know how many wormholes each island might have, it's a good idea to fully explore each island before moving on to the next. It's also a good idea to draw a basic map on a sheet of paper or something so you can keep track of which wormhole goes where. Yeah, you could also use standard in-game marking methods such as a backpack, trap, or sign by each wormhole, but that gets pretty expensive resource-wise. Turns out there weren't any wormholes in the swamp, so I do one last lap of the grassy area picking flowers to get my sanity back up, and then hop in the wormhole. The next island greets me with a fun set piece, 4 tree guards in a swamp along with some gold, stone, a miner's hat, and a pickaxe. And not realizing that I didn't have any flint left, I foolishly left the pickaxe behind, then ran off to explore the island. Turns out this one was just a small island with one other wormhole, so in I go to the next one, which is more swamp. Running along the coastline with the walking stick allows me to quickly outline this island, which is also pretty small, and based on the lowish tone of the divining rod, I suspect that it's picking up things on nearby islands. With all the spiders and tentacles, I decide to just drop a campfire and wait until morning, as the war zone has caused lots of spider warriors to spawn and I don't want to risk getting jumped by the warriors. Morning arrives as a horde of said spiders approaches my location, courtesy of a tentacle, but I just run off into the interior of the island, where I find 3 additional wormholes. No things on this island though, so I pick one of the new wormholes and in I go. Oops, went back to the prior island. Guess I hadn't started making my map on a spare sheet of paper quite yet. So, I head to one of the new wormholes and in I go, and am greeted with Chester's eye bones surrounded by more spiders, but this time in a lumpy tree forest on an island that also has desert, and desert means cactus. Which is a nice find as the swamps and wormholes had definitely been taking a toll on Wagstaff's sanity. By the time I'm partway through dusk, I've mapped this area of desert and gathered all the cactus, so I drop a campfire and then cook up the succulents to boost my sanity. I leave Chester at the edge of the forest as he's not good at avoiding the spider nests, and then continue exploring and can tell that I'm really close to finding my first thing. There's more desert on the other side of the island, which I explore during the night and get more cactus, and then just before dawn I find the first part of the Teleportato, the crank thing. I haven't found any additional wormholes though, so I start running around the forest, and a few minutes later, the island is fully mapped, and yeah, this one was a dead end. So I grab Chester and then head back through the wormhole that brought me here. The next wormhole takes me to a savanna where I quickly find the metal potato thing set piece. I find a herd of beefalo just as night falls and proceed to map out the interior of the island and find what is normally a trapped set piece. Opening the chest triggers a noise that sounds a lot like the dragonfly's warning growl, but no giant appears. I guess this is normally the desert trap set piece that would cause the season to instantly change to summer, but since this is adventure mode that doesn't have summer, nothing happens. I continue mapping the interior and follow some suspicious dirt piles that leads me to a koalefant. Yeah, I could have just killed some beefalo for meat, but for 8 meat and no herd mentality, the koalefant also works. I finished mapping the Savannah Island during dusk of day 6, and having found no additional wormholes here, travel back to the spider-infested Swamp Island, and then beeline to the last unexplored wormhole of that island. Ah, the flower field full of killer bees. Good news, there's lots of flowers to boost my sanity with. Bad news, there's lots of killer bees, so I'll have to be careful. This island always comes paired with a spider forest, and just as night arrives I find the ring thing. Over on the other side of the island I find my next wormhole, but continue mapping the island as I'm pretty sure there's at least one more. Forest gets finished, then I drop Chester for safety and proceed to map out the bee fields, finding another wormhole along the way. I finish the field, grab Chester, and then head back up to the forest wormhole which leads to yet another swamp. Just before night of day 7 I see marble turf, which means this island has the wood circle thing set piece where the Teleportato will be assembled. I just run past it for now as there are enough natives around here that I might not need to fight the clockworks myself. Night is spent mapping the outside of the island, and I move on to the interior a little after dawn arrives on day number 8. Ahead a little ways I come across a wonderful treasure for Wagstaff, pig heads. So I make a hammer, smash the heads, and now probably have more than enough pigskin for the rest of adventure mode. Back at the set piece I rush in and take out a bishop, and then take out the rest of the clockworks while the natives fight amongst themselves. Apparently this is one of the chapters of adventure mode that does have periodic hound attacks, which is fine. While waiting for the dogs to arrive I go ahead and place the things I already have, and then wait for the hounds. There's only 2 and they go down fast to my tentacle spike, and off to the side there are more pig heads, so I harvest the pigskins and then continue mapping the island during the night. Midway through day 9 I finish the island and will need to backtrack to the bee field to find the last thing. I cook up my cactus to shore up my sanity. It will be a full moon, and since I'm just after one more thing I leave Chester behind, then head back through the wormhole to the bee island. The final island is a rocky land, and at long last I've finally found some additional flint. Pickaxe gets made and I start smashing boulders to replenish my gold supplies, working through the night under the light of the full moon. Early the next morning I find the final part of the Teleportato, the box thing, and go ahead and map out the edges of the island. But then I break map exploration completionist tendency protocols and head back to the wormhole. I know there's not going to be anything I need in the rest of the island, so call me Suslindrak all you want, I've got other places to go. I wear the visor through the wormhole just in case I land too close to a killer beehive, and then light the forest on fire for charcoal so I can pre-craft a new crockpot. I also chop down a few trees to increase my log storage in case there's anything else I want to pre-craft. Day 11 arrives and I take my final wormhole hop and then head up to the chessboard and start crafting. Crockpot gets made first, followed by a new alchemy engine, the latter of which I go ahead and place. The lack of flint in this world made me wish I knew how to make gold-based tools, so I prototyped the fancy shovel, axe, and pickaxe versions. Next I make an icebox, which honestly I might not even use, and then I cook up a few cactus to top off my stats and finish assembling the Teleportato. It gets loaded with gold, pigskins, my walking stick, and my puffy vest just in case the next chapter starts out with winter, and then I hit activate and get pulled into the next chapter, which will have to wait for the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!